I have the pleasure of kind of chairing these sessions. I think George did it last time because I wasn't available. But I'm from Notting Hill Genesis. Work as a technical manager in their organisation. I've been chairing these meetings for a while. Welcome to anyone who's new to the group, and welcome back anyone who isn't. We've got a few topics to kind of put to you today. As always, I would suggest these sessions are only as good as the kind of participation that we get. So please, if you have things to contribute or questions to ask, then please do so. The topics that we've got on our list to talk about. George has got a number of work streams that are ongoing in other parts of the kind of BIM for Housing organization. Richard, don't interrupt. You've got to go and feed your dogs, mate.
No, sorry,
what do you want?
this is actually quite important. No, seriously, we've had real nightmares for the last 3 meetings
Right.
with Teams.
Okay.
People not being able to get on, volume, the audio going off for like 5 minutes, and everybody's scrambling and to rejoin, but it wasn't a problem, it was Teams. And it's not just us, I've checked with a lot of people. So if something happens in the meeting, it's not us, just hang in there because it'll come back.
Right. Okay. No, thanks
Sorry,
for that.
babes.
No. That's useful. So yeah, just to go back, George has got some things to update us on. I think in this group we've talked about Regulation 38 documentation before, and I think there's been some further work done in that area that George will update us on. Similarly, there's been some work done, I think, in the assets work stream on the potential overlap and ambiguities around combining access strategies with fire strategies that we felt would be worth kind of raising at this session. And then there's also been some work done on a response to Awaab's law and the kind of management of damp and the such like, and the use of sensors. And again, I think George has got some updates on that. For me, if we get time, I'd also like to start a conversation about the Gateway 3 process. I know we're all probably up to our necks in Gateway 2 stuff right now, but thought it might be worth getting your views on some of the Gateway 3 stuff that we should be preparing ourselves for. So George, I don't know if you're ready to kind of lead on in the topics that you were going to talk to us about today.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I'm preparing at the moment, David, that I found that my slide isn't working. So
Okay.
Could we look at the Gateway 3 elements?
Yeah, sure.
Are you able to?
Yeah. No,
to do that.
No problem.
Give me another 5 minutes or so.
Yeah. So being open and honest with the gathered group, we myself, Richard, George, and Jis, we get together before these sessions and we scrabble around for topics that we feel would be relevant to kind of share with the group and get you engaged with. So this was a relatively late addition to that, but it just struck me that we're all on our own journeys, in terms of navigating the kind of Gateway 2, Gateway 3 processes. And whilst the focus at the moment is Gateway 2, I was very conscious that if we're going to be successful at kind of Gateway 3 applications, we're particularly thinking about principal designers and principal contractors that have got to sign off or make statements at Gateway 3 that they fulfilled their roles and are confirming that what they've actually built meets building regulations. I was just curious as to what our experiences are to date of what contractors are doing differently on our schemes now in order to be able to make those sorts of statements when they come to make the Gateway 3 applications. just to give that some context, and again, we've spoken about this before. You know, we're still struggling to get contractors to provide us with a set of drawings that have got as built written on them. And it's very clear in the Gateway 3 process that those sorts of statements need to be made. You know, it needs to be very clear that the drawn evidence that's provided truly represents what's been built. And as a client, we do an awful lot of work ourselves around quality assurance, and we are starting to see contractors behave in a slightly different way towards the collection of that information, and around the kind of quality assurance processes where they're gathering evidence of what's actually been built. So I just wanted to open it up to the group, as to question number one is do we perceive there to have been a bit of a step change in terms of how that's being managed, even at the early stages in projects? And there was a B, and for the life of me, I can't remember what that was. So I just wanted to open up to the floor, really, just to see what experiences there are out there, and whether as clients, you know, we need to be doing more in terms of driving that agenda. And I don't know if anyone's got any views. Victoria, thank the Lord, someone's got an opinion. That's good.
I do. Yeah, similar to yourself, I think. It's so hard to get as built drawings or as fitted drawings.
Yeah.
The most that we seem to be able to get is them using the old drawings and scribbling on it.
Okay.
That seems to be all we can get. So yeah, we've had pretty much that same issue. And also just something as simple as getting the specifications of exactly what's there and evidence. So, you know, I think we've used field view on some of our things that we've been doing to try and capture the evidence with the text, with the photographs as well. But it still doesn't feel like it's coming naturally to the, it still feels like we're having to pull that information out of contractors all the time.
Yeah. Victoria, forgive me, I should know this. Where are you from?
Oh, sorry, I should have said really. It's, I'm from Withershaw Community Housing Group.
Okay. No, nice to see you again. Yeah, no, we have got it as far as a contractor is prepared to sort of sign a letter confirming that the final construction issue drawings do represent what has actually been built. So that they're kind of prepared to make that declaration. I suspect where they're struggling is, and this is, you know, me purely conjecturing and thinking aloud, is if they've employed an architect or they've employed a team of engineers to do their design, for those organizations to be able to then produce an as-built drawing, it needs them to have been on site and have done the inspections and to be able to give them that guarantees, and all of that costs money. You know, now that might be a slightly more cynical view of life. But I wonder if the root cause of the problem is they can't get their consultants to actually sign up and produce a drawing that says as built. I don't know. I throw it out there as a comment for people to add to.
Yeah, you'd think if that was on your tender information, and it was a condition of handover, that information is provided.
Yeah.
And you would think you've got a good case, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But maybe as clients we've got a part to play in that. But as I say, you know, I guess no one's made a Gateway 3 application yet, right? So
yeah, we did one on I think we did one on the soil stack scheme.
Okay.
But that was pretty simple, and basically you're going through the whole block with the same information, aren't you? So once you've done it on one area, you're okay. Still, it took an awful long time to get through.
Yeah. Okay.
And it did still require the as fitted sections through and plans. So, but we did get those in the end from a subcontractor. So things like that, it still took an awful long time. Anything a bit more complex, I think, you know, people are really going to struggle.
Yeah. There's a counter argument that, I mean, certainly we've witnessed more comprehensive O&M documentation coming through in terms of specification information. So sometimes it can be a bit too generalistic and it isn't necessarily project specific. Yeah, Ian, good to see you, my friend.
How are you? Long time.
Yeah, I'm
no
very
see.
fine. Long time no see. Are you well?
I am well. Just left McLaren, or leaving
Okay.
McLaren.
Couldn't you
still
get in the
seeking
car
parts.
anymore, mate?
Sorry?
Couldn't you get in the car anymore?
No, only a single seater. No, so looking for ventures new. But what I wanted to say is, I think I've been reviewing over the last 7-8 months now. McLaren's what they call the McLaren way, which is a full sort of process system from start to finish. And I've been looking at the Building Safety Act and overlaying it on the McLaren way, looking at gap analysis, etc. What that has led to, going from, and you mentioned about the consultants' appointments, and scopes, etc. All the way through processes and how we register things on the likes of A-Site and using DALI and all the rest of it. We, as McLaren, have had to look at everything top to bottom.
Yeah.
And the consultants are also having to look at everything top to bottom.
Yes.
Because there are insurance implications, there are process implications, etc., etc. So I think, whilst it sounds all very easy, and you'd say, oh yeah, as-built drawings, put it on A-Site and tick in the box and away you go. You're absolutely right. The strategy of getting there with an official tick in the box that ticks all the boxes of the requirements of Gateway 1, 2, and 3, it has thrown, I wouldn't say spanners in the works, but everyone's having to reset and just consider a lot more carefully about how everything operates. So, that's from a tier 1. When you go down to the tier 2s, tier 3s, I have no idea how they're looking at this. We're even having I've been having constructive conversations with Construction Line about Construction Line Gold, in terms of that sort of formal tick in regards to the competencies and all the rest of it that goes with this. And lots of the smaller contractors and subcontractors that are on Construction Line are raising their hands and saying, well, we don't need to do any of this because we don't do HRBs. Not realizing that, whether it is or not, you still need to go through a process and B, compliance, and B, a Gateway 3 at the end of it. So people are still not fully educated as well as the needs of what's needed.
Yeah, and I guess my concern is there's so much focus on Gateway 2, and quite rightly so. Preparing for Gateway 3 isn't something that you can do 3 months before you make the application. It's you need the process in place.
I think you're absolutely right. You need to start looking at Gateway 3, to be honest, at the point of Gateway 2.
No,
because
absolutely.
the golden thread and all the rest of it that goes with that.
Yeah. So Tim, you've asked a question in the chat. When you receive a document package, how long does it take to verify the status? Is it manual or are people using automation? Okay. Tim, do you want to, I guess I sense you're asking the group a question there. Would you mind elaborating on that a bit?
Yeah, I can't talk very well because I've just had an operation, which meant I had tubes stuck down my throat. But one of the things that we get very large gigabytes packages thrown at us.
Yes.
And obviously we, being in software, we're developing ways of being able to rip through them to analyze them. So, and it occurs to me that one of the problems is that if you are overwhelmed with data, or documents and drawings, particularly when it comes to the as-built status,
Yeah.
and particularly when somebody's just scribbled on as-built. I mean, it's really, really annoying when
Mhm.
they put across a PDF construction approved, and you go, you're not having that as handover data.
Yeah.
And so if you get 1,000 documents, are you going to have to go through manually and open every single one?
Mhm.
Or is there another way of doing it? Now, George, I hope you won't mind me saying, but we're looking at and trying out using AI which is using RAG data, what's called a RAG database. So basically ingests it and reads all the information that's in the PDFs, including drawings, so that you can then ask the questions, and you can run these questions as a task, or you can run it as a frequent thing. So every time you get new documents come in, it starts the check,
Yeah.
so that you can quickly feed back a very concise acceptance or rejection and why you are rejecting it, so that the recipient, the person sending it, realizes that what they're up against is a very sharp, sophisticated rule-based system that's going to say, you're not getting this, and if you don't get this, you don't get paid. The basis of it, I know it's slightly frightening, but also then to say, look, you could run these things yourself. So
Yep.
if you
Yep.
ran the same tests that we're going to run against it, then if you can't get it past the test, don't bother sending it.
Yeah.
And that may help them rather than hinder them to understand what they need to do, because obviously they're in the throes not of delivering data or drawings, but of delivering a building, a physical asset. And this whole world of the supporting documentation that goes behind it, it's really never been put under scrutiny before. It's
Yeah.
never ever had the magnifying glass on it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm asking.
And Tim, thanks very much for sharing that, because clearly that you're recovering. So thank you. Just and it might be a question for George rather than asking you to speak again. But what you're describing there, that's the here and now, isn't it? Rather than something that's available in the future. You know, that software exists, or that functionality exists where we could be doing that today, or is that something for tomorrow? Is George listening?
Oh, sorry, for me. Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
I just wanted to not ask Tim
yeah.
to speak again. That was all.
Sorry, I apologise.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. That's something that that a number of people are doing at the moment, David.
Yeah.
And what we should be doing is really applying it in such a way that we've got a range of different perspectives of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just step through a little bit about Regulation 38 in a second.
Yeah.
But the most important thing there is to say that different people will need different information for different purposes. And therefore, what this group could help with, and the rest of the working groups and the like, is actually define what information you actually want for what purpose.
Yeah.
Because by doing that, it means that we can be far more cost effective in capturing information that is more holistic.
Yes.
Rather than it being in silos.
Yes.
So,
okay, that makes sense.
And the other thing, as you know, David, I've been banging on about stuff being machine readable for 5 years.
As long as we can remember, George.
But now with AI, it just brings on a new dimension, really. If
Yeah.
the information is machine readable, then it means that you can actually use some of the tools that we're using, when we're writing reports and things like that,
Yeah.
because you've got stuff that can be tested. And it does mean that you can sort of leverage, again, people's expertise and make it reusable. The important thing, though, is to recognize that if AI doesn't know the answer, it will try and make up a solution for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really common. And therefore, we need to make sure that it's that it's got the right guardrails on it.
Yeah, it's well defined.
So that, so if you're using it to do audits of, say, Regulation 38 information, you need to recognize that, what the answer should be, so that you can check that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. That the important thing is that there's nothing to stop us doing that, other than the fact we've got to come together and define exactly what it is we want the AI to confirm for us. It needs some definition. There was another. Sorry, George. There was another.
No, carry on, please. In
the chat from Tom. Tom, you responded to a comment that had been made and suggested that back in the heady days, your experience was that if you didn't provide accurate as-built information, then you didn't get paid.
Yeah, I mean that was just the standard way of working. The main contractors that we work with up and down the country, I used to run work installation things in the north of England and down in London and stuff.
Yeah,
you just had somebody going around and checking, and if you got something wrong, they'd grab you and say, "Look at that. That's what your drawing says."
Yeah,
sort it out. You're not getting paid, and it was a really simple mechanism. Do it properly, or don't get paid. And I've fannied around in consultancy for several years now, but I just wonder at what point that contract got broken, where you don't have someone checking. And surely it's easier to pay for a clerk of works to go around and check everything than it is to dick about with all of this, getting everything wrong and then finding problems later.
Yeah, I mean, we still employ clerk of works. Back in my day, there were things called resident engineers as well, and I don't know if they were slightly different. But as you say, that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, does it? Not universal.
And it's perplexing. It's a problem that didn't used to exist.
Yeah.
Can I make just a contribution on that?
Of course.
I think one of the big problems
Can't stop it.
that we've got is actually BIM.
Oh.
Yeah.
Go on.
Now, as I think everybody knows, I've been involved in BIM since many years, let's say. And what now has happened, though, is that rather than using BIM as a productivity tool, people are depending on it. So what you've just said there, Tom, is one of the things that drives me nuts. And that is that people expect the outputs from the BIM models to be fully coordinated. And if everybody is using them perfectly, that can be the case.
Yeah.
But then this isn't the case.
But this is a problem of the BIM of poor BIM management. Again, so I as you know, I've been a bit long in the tooth in the whole world of BIM as well. And when we first started doing this, when I was at East Riding years ago, before I rejoined, we ran the BIM projects. We provided a fully coordinated design that went to site and it fitted. And then in the first week we had a problem. Well, the steelwork and the construction for it was a new fire station. All the steelwork went in, all the precast concrete went in. Then the services started going in, and they clashed. And we said, well, they don't clash on the drawings. Why are they clashing on site? And it was because people were just bunging things up, not to the drawings. They were doing it for ease of their service. So we got them to take it all down, got a new site manager on the job who ruled with an iron fist and said, it goes in as the drawings. And then we didn't have a clash on the rest of the job. And it's a failure in management of the contractors, not a failure of BIM. It's a failure in people to take accountability and responsibility for making sure that things are done properly.
Yeah, it's just to clarify. Yeah, I'm not saying that BIM isn't important. What I'm saying is that the implementation of how BIM is being used and the fact that there's over reliance on it being perfect, that there's a problem. And, you know, for example, making sure that production drawings or drawings have got the same references on them that the schedules have got, and making sure they're consistent is really important. But, you know, in many cases, it just doesn't happen. So, you know, when we're often the recipients of the information at handover, and we find that, you know, there's no, well, it's certainly not accurate enough in correlation.
I understand that, and I understand that it's a problem, but it's the, you know, it's somebody poisoning the well further upstream.
I agree.
And there needs to be some mechanism by which it is accurate, all of this is correctly managed further. And obviously I don't know what that is, but there's been some kind of collapse somewhere in the system.
I agree.
And trying to address it at the facilities management, or at the, you know, kind of like at the dealing with information end, is the wrong point at which to deal with it. And trying to put in all of we just put in sticking tape, or, you know, fingers in the dike. There needs to be a fundamental change upstream in what's managed and what's done properly. What goes into the contracts to make sure this all happens. And it's not a problem of the tools, it's a problem of the people. I
agree. Yeah, it's over reliance. I guess what I'm saying, it's an over reliance on the technology, and we've got exactly the same problem now with AI.
People just believing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Back in my day, we would have strung them all up.
I suspect the root causes of the issues that we're describing originate in a number of places. And as you say, is it about people? Is it about training? Is it about process? Is it about systems? Is it, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And the answer is it's probably some of all of it. I guess what the Building Safety Act at its core is trying to do is create a cultural shift in terms of how people are thinking about these, you know, forget what's gone before. We need to get back to a place where delivering the highest quality is at the forefront, where other things maybe have overtaken those things. It's become a very philosophical debate from a very simple question at the beginning, I have to say. Didn't know it was going to go in that direction.
So in terms of the Gateway 3 bit, David, when we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and there was a project manager on from Hexagon Housing, and he was giving an example of the fact that they had a project where in the requirements they'd said that they needed to make sure that you know, they were satisfying the golden thread, and the contractor said, yeah, no problem, we're including that. And it transpired what they were doing, they were just using Aconex as a document management system.
Okay.
And the result was that they got to handover, and they couldn't demonstrate much of the evidence at all.
Yeah.
And that led to a 6 to 8 months delay.
Yeah.
Now, what I'd be interested in from the group is whether people are experiencing delays at Gateway 2 or Gateway. I think Vic's probably the only one that's saying that you've done a Gateway 3. But are you experiencing delays, and if so, what's the implication of that?
Yeah, does anyone got anything to add? Can add to that request?
No.
Okay. All right. That's okay. I guess what I will take this away and probably talk with George about as a topic. How do we want to engage with this? What contribution can we make? I think, as George is suggesting, and it may come out of the Regulation 38 piece that he's about to do, I think what we can contribute is at least a start of a 10 in terms of what exactly is it that we're after, as owners and operators of buildings, kind of out of this process in terms of what exactly is the information that we need. As a client, we've certainly done a lot of work on that in the last 6 months, and it's not finished. But as with all these things, the devil very much is in the detail, and we do find ourselves having to become a lot more detailed in our thinking than maybe we ever were before. But okay, keen to move things along, George. Are you ready to kick into the Reg 38 stuff?
Just apologies. It's on a PowerPoint, active plan PowerPoint background. That wasn't intentional, but just try and ignore that for the minute. So the important thing is that one of the big challenges that everybody's got at the moment is that and people are asking for more explicit requirements from the regulator, and we're not going to get them. Yeah, because they don't know, and secondly, they don't want to paint themselves into a situation where they're actually taking responsibility. So we're therefore reliant on people with different levels of expertise to look at the regulations and interpret them in such ways that we can then end up with different perspectives according to how people think that it ought to be applied. And they are in turn producing different guidance for their supply chains. So we're ending up in situations where different client organizations who are trying to achieve the same outcomes are asking different things from their supply chains because the consultants have given them different advice. And part of what I think we need to do as a group is look at finding ways that we can improve the quality of information that's coming through, let's say for fire safety, by ensuring that the supply chains have got some solutions in terms of information sets that they can prepare for any client organization. And to a great extent, that those can be captured in reusable data libraries. Nothing to do with any specific software, but the information sets can then be reusable. And we stand a lot better chance of those being done. Now, a couple of years ago, Jarek and Daz from David Miller got together and they produced the Miro board that was their interpretation. This actually started with Daz from David Miller sort of setting out his interpretation and then sharing it with Jarek, who's an M&E engineer, electrical engineer. And they were kicking this around, and we decided to open it up to the rest of the team. And we've had over 100 people input to this now, and it's being updated and refined as people are interpreting things, and we're getting a common interpretation of what the legislation is requiring. And for example, those are some of the people already that have been involved, and you can see there's a wide range of different experts in that area. And I'm just going to touch on the golden thread, because again, what does the golden thread really mean? I think it's you know, we're running a session at London Build with 2 or 3 other software companies and client organizations, talking about how can we interpret the golden thread in an easier way. But the point is, it's about systems and parts of components that work together. And to achieve that, and you know, many of you will have seen this before, but I think it's important to start thinking about the information. You know, why are we collecting the information on Regulation 38, for example? Well, it's because we're trying to prevent smoke from getting out of a fire in a kitchen, getting into that stairwell, and stopping people from being able to escape. And the prime things that are there that we need to do to achieve that is by having the right compartmentation, information about the various different asset types, and having the individual information about just fire doors doesn't actually help. So that's a compliance thing, but you need to look at it in context. So what we need to do is make sure that we're looking at what is the measure. The measure is actually the compartment. It's not the penetration seals, although it's absolutely critical that we've got the right information about the penetration seals. And also we need to recognize the fact that some smoke will get out, so therefore you've got to have some sort of smoke control. You've got to have detection systems, and you've got to have good signage to be able to get people out. And to achieve that, you need the information to be auditable and machine readable, so you can check it against the manufacturer's information, but you can also look at the way a particular asset, you know, what is it doing in terms of protection, so that that information can then be onwardly checked and audited. So Regulation 38 is specifically about handover information. So the focus really is making sure that the information that is defined in ADB is actually being provided. But once it's been provided, you've then got to keep it up to date, because that's under the, as I understand it, it's the 2005 Regulatory Reform Order. So for the Building Safety Act, you've got to keep it up to date. It's not simply a handover. And therefore, if people are then using a range of different software applications to keep information current, they need to be able to refer back to those items. So if we actually look at what is in Regulation 38, and this is a legal requirement to have an as-built plan of the building with all of those safety critical assets identified on it. Now, I personally have not come across any fire and emergency file that's got that information. It's got it in different packs of information. It's got it in you know, there's a manufacturer's schedule in the O&M, but it's not easily connected up. So there's not really the clue is in the name, fire and emergency file. Yeah, you don't want to be hunting around to try and find that information. It needs to be in a coherent state. And the law, you know, building control now, and has done for many years, it requires the responsible person in the organisation to sign a declaration to say that they've had everything. Now, if you don't have that information, then you shouldn't get a certificate of completion. And if you don't get a certificate of completion, then you shouldn't be able to occupy the building. Now, the pressure that's on the people that are being asked to sign this stuff off is huge. We were talking about it yesterday, and we had Andy, forgotten his surname, from Pinnacle on, and he was saying that the pressure that he's under on these projects to sign it off is huge.
Yeah.
And that must be very, very common. But if you sign it and you haven't been able to check all the information, then my understanding is, talking to Devonshire, you're committing a criminal offence. And correspondingly, the contractor has got to confirm that they've provided all the information. And again, that's not being done. Pencho.
I'd just like to add something. In my recent review, I noticed that the Regulation 38 declaration has been signed without any names or anything like that. So basically, just a company signs a declaration. So that was one of my observations. But the most important bit is they have signed the declaration with missing maybe around 67% of the information. And the most importantly, fire door. There was not a single information about the fire doors rather than the fire strategy information. These are the doors, and that was lower rise block. It wasn't high rise block, but regardless, this is now become actually legally required under the building regulations 2010 from April last year, regardless of the size or the height of the building.
Absolutely. That's really helpful, Pencho, because I think that the point that you've made there, I think, is very well made. And that is that this information, the only difference between an HRB and all the other buildings isn't what information you've got to provide at all. It's actually how it's going to be overviewed. You know, is it the regulator that's going to check, or is it building control? And
it's the client, isn't it? So,
well, the client ultimately is absolutely responsible. Yeah.
That's a responsibility.
Yeah.
So as a client, right now, we are not signing these declarations.
It's actually the responsible person in this case. Sorry about that.
So we are the responsible person in this situation, and we are saying to our contractors, up to this point, we will not sign, because we do not have the processes that will assure us that everything. We cannot make a statement that says you have given us everything for us to be able to manage our building safely. What's then happening is the contractor is making the second statement, which is they're declaring that they've given us the information. They're not able to make that the final paragraph. We have also received a notice from the response, so they can't say that, but they're still getting building control sign-off.
Are they? That's interesting.
Yeah, so we're still handing over buildings at the moment, but we've not made a declaration that we've got given the information. Now I can see that situation changing, and you know we do have in place processes by which we can check, but because of what do I say here? Because of the liabilities that it raises, you know, we're at the moment we're not signing such declarations. Rightly or wrongly. I don't know if anyone else has got other experiences of that.
Well, shut up for a second and then let people answer. Come on, this is a working group. Let's
it's
let's
hard
do
to
a
know
bit
the
of work.
profile of the people, but
Yeah.
Has anyone else got experience of being asked to sign such declarations?
Ian Williamson, were you asked to do this at McLaren?
McLaren.
He's perhaps gone off for a coffee.
Yeah, could be. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I've got an example. We're advising a large client at the moment, and they've been asked by a big project management company to they're arranging a review of all the O&M information.
Yeah.
And they've been asked to tell the contractor or the project manager what information are they going to be looking for in the O&M. And I've advised them not to engage directly in that, because what I've said to them is that what they should be doing initially, it should be for the contractor or the project manager. In this particular case, it's the project manager that should be checking that the O&Ms comply with the EIRs and the AIRs. I've said to them what they should be doing is asking where, and we know that on this particular project there's a deficit, but therefore what we're saying to our client is that they should be asking the PM to tell them what's missing, what they've found that's missing, and therefore, you know, they can take a view as to whether it's serious or not.
Yeah.
I said the second thing that you should be doing is asking to make sure that all the statutory requirements are actually met, because otherwise the client could end up with liability for things that were never provided. The area that they should be providing information on is what do they need from an operational point of view to run the building, and that's a reasonable thing for them to then contribute.
Yeah.
But the first two, I think that's the point really, that what people are doing, they're putting people under pressure to sign things off, and nobody's checking.
Yeah. Paul, I can see you've got your hand up, but just very, very quickly.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to, in support of everything that's been said. So I'm Paul White from Gresham Council. So all I can say is I haven't got experience at the moment of asking, about declarations and things. We're sort of halfway through contracts that are running and are non-HRB contracts. But, what you're saying about, what we all know about as-built, that's been a problem for a while. I just wonder whether it's D&B and insurance changes and all the rest of it, or whether it's just a cultural thing. But all I can say is this is really useful in terms of at least going away with those existing contracts and asking about, are you going to provide us as-built drawings on what level? But also going back to your what you're saying about the Regulation 38 and signing declarations and building control. I'm just going to be very interested in asking now about what's coming. What are we going to be faced with now?
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying. I'm just in support of this. This is really, really helpful and useful. So I certainly will be much more mindful of it now and be asking for that and feedback. So thank you, David, and thank you everybody else that's contributed. It's very interesting. Thank you.
No, thanks, Paul.
I just found one of the cases where we've been asked to sign off Regulation 38 without obviously signing off the Regulation 38. The building control signed the completion, so the PC, but then we refused to accept responsibility and occupation based on the fact that we haven't actually. So that is, we're going into legal loops here and there, but it becomes actually a legal issue.
Yeah.
Because it's not very clear from the. I will drop the link to the building regulations, the text, but it's not very clear the actual process, what happens if that building controls decide to give the PC before the declaration has been signed off.
Pancho, forgive me. Where are you from?
Coming from Place for People.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Thank you for chipping in.
I think what helps, if I might probably help you, is because I've been involved in this sort of in this world since 2020. So what we did is part of the contractual kind of, or the ERs actually, we have put our specific requirements to provide certain information on certain stage, similar to kind of Gateway 2, where you have specific requirements for contractors to provide that information. So, and also we put in the contracts that without this information, we're not going to be able to take the handover with the exception of Section 166 schemes. But when we are in control, I think that gives us an edge, and that gives an opportunity to explore and to dictate the terms. So it's about awareness, and it's about planning. So preparation.
Yeah, no, we've done the same thing, Pancho. What we're still finding is that the Regulation 38 as written, it is a great summary document. You know, it sets out a decent scope, but we still have discussions with contractors about what is a Regulation 38 document and what isn't. And that they have a slightly different view to us about how detailed the information needs to be. And I've taken the view that at the core of the Regulation 38, it's about providing the responsible person with the information they need to operate and manage the building. Well, contractors can't define that. You know, that's for the people that are operating and maintaining the buildings. You know, they're the ones who know what information they need. So we're doing a lot of work at the moment to try and be a lot more specific and a lot more detailed in our requests for what we will accept and what we won't. But that you know, that takes time. And as George says, you know, I can speak to half a dozen different asset managers in my organization and I'll get at least 3 different answers.
Yeah.
You know, that's so you're always trying to find the best fit. But the bottom line is, you know, as a client, we should be more assertive in, no, this is what we need, and if we don't get it, we won't accept PC. That's fine, but then, you know, we suffer commercially as an organization then as well. So, you know, even the people within my organization who are being asked to sign these things, they're caught between rocks and hard places as well.
Which I had a meeting earlier, and we've been basically bullied in signing and information which is not us built. But so those kind of things happen. But if you obviously work proactively and specify in your contracts that certain criteria for performance, but also most importantly contractors accreditation and that actually gives us an edge here, because if there's if we appoint contractor who is competent under the third party, whatever scheme you decide, then you must follow the scheme rules, and you should expect this document. So even though the main contractor does not understand that, the subcontractors understand, because they need to follow it anyways.
No, you're spot on.
What happens, David, or Pancho as well? What happens from a financial perspective if you can't occupy the building?
We push all kind of so there's
would that result in damages to the contractor for the fact that they've not provided the final information?
Both, and
it should do.
We're liable obviously for those kind of damages as well, for making for missing profits and stuff like that.
But this is
so we have that clauses in the contract. If it's due to that kind of their faults, then there's
but this is where
clauses.
It gets difficult, George. This is where it gets difficult, because if you look at it contractually, then if the contractor delivers late, then normally there are clauses in the contract where we can claim back liquidated and ascertained damages.
Yes.
So contractually, yes, you do have the mechanism. But if the contractor has received a building control certificate to say the building is signed off, then we can't argue the Regulation 38 piece, because according to building control, we've got all the information that we need. So even though we've got the mechanism in the contract to be able to enforce that with the contractor is hugely problematic.
Well, that's very, very interesting, because I don't think that that's right. Yeah.
Say what you mean, George. Don't sit on the fence.
No. The reason I'm saying that is that I've had many conversations with building control people.
Yeah.
And they tell me that them signing off on building control,
yeah,
does not require them at all to check whether the information is there.
Yeah.
They don't know enough about the project itself, so therefore they are not in a position to do that. And they've been very, very clear. Colin Blatchford Brown and you know, people like that. That's the message that they're sending out to everybody.
I think we're both right, George. I think you're absolutely correct, because the building control certificate also isn't a guarantee that your building is compliant with building regs.
Exactly.
You know, there's a one-liner in it that says, "Yeah, we've signed it," but I think all I'm saying to you is, in order for us to be able to enforce the clauses of the contract,
yes,
it becomes more problematic. Because the contractor's view of life is, yes, we have given you all the information in accordance with Regulation 38.
Yeah.
And at a summary level, they're probably right. But, you know, it's the detailed information. So, yes, they've given us information on the sprinkler system, but it just might not be enough information for us to be able to maintain it.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Or it's the wrong information.
Or it's the wrong, or it's a general package of information that could apply to any sprinkler system anywhere.
And I guess one of the challenges that I think we should be getting to, given we're BIM, the information management, we're the the golden thread people, is we need to elevate the importance of the digital records.
Yeah.
And if that's an equal snap. So this one, for example, you'll see here, this is an audit that we did a little while ago, and you can see there's quite a lot of green there under the building control side of things, because it's it's either been provided or it hasn't. But then you start to see a lot more red coming in, and then when we actually get to the Regulation 38 stuff, there was a huge amount. Now that has enabled the client to go back and, to be frank, ask the questions and start to nail that sort of thing. But
George, I'm sorry, but certainly on my screen, I'm not seeing that slide changing.
Oh, right. Okay.
I don't know if anybody else is having that, but this is the glitch we had the other day as well.
Okay.
I can see it changing.
You can?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it lots of red at the moment, what you can see?
No, I've got all green. I've just got the first bit where it was all green, George. That's all I've got.
Okay.
Maybe it's fine for some people, but no, I'm just telling you.
I've got all red as well.
Great, good. Okay. So I think this is the point, really. So what we've done as BIM for Housing and the Golden Thread, we've come up with a simple way of looking at an audit process, David. So if the regulator, if the contractor says that they've provided you with all the information that you should need to be able to operate that, what we're basically saying is these are the asset types that are mentioned in the regs, and at the bare minimum, what we should be doing is having a reference against the individual asset, its location, what system or circuit it's part of, if it is part of a system, manufacturer's product reference and data sheets, and the who installed it and inspected it, etc. So that's the bare minimum, really.
Yeah.
And I think if we can start to use that as a mechanism of audit, I mean, I've been to we when we were creating this, we got information back from quite a few different councils and housing associations as to whether they audit it, and certainly Places for People had the best one that I came across, but it's quite detailed,
Yes.
which it needs to be. This is simpler, so that's what I was going to say. That's
So-
probably my regulation 38 thing.
Okay,
Sorry.
so what would be useful? Well, maybe what would be useful is if as part of the BIM for Housing collective,
Yep.
we can come up with one recommended template as this audit check,
Yes.
and then we can, in terms of all of the people that contribute and all the members, they can use that as a template. Then we can start to get some consistency into it. Is my point. As you say, if we're all approaching the contractor and their supply chains with the same requests, then over time we're likely to get a more kind of regular and robust response, aren't we?
Is this
Definitely.
something we should hive off to a work stream?
Yes, I think we should actually. Yeah,
I was coming to that point,
Yeah.
Richard.
Sorry,
Are
sorry.
you back on our time zone, Richard, or are you still working in your own time zone?
I would know that how.
Okay. All right. Has anyone got any closing comments on the regulations? I know we've discussed it as a group before, but anyone got any closing comments before we move on? Or are you okay?
Can I suggest that if anybody's interested in participating in the regulation 38 stuff, then just put regulation 38 in the chat, and we'll loop you in. Yeah. I mean this is slightly. This is an example that hopefully quite a few of you have seen. Ian Williamson, I don't think you would have seen this yet, but one of the things that we're trying to do was make more standard the way fire door inspections are being done, because procurement teams may, they'll be going out to people and asking for things that were different. So this is something that we inherited or robbed, or whichever way you look at it, from the NHS. And we had quite a lot of our experts working on it, a standardized way of doing fire door inspections. So type 1, type 2, type 3 fire door inspections was specifically put together, and we've got this on the website if anybody wants it, and it's got examples of what good looks like. So I think having, as David's saying there, having something like this for the regulation 38 audit, to this sort of, ideally to this sort of quality, will maybe get.
Yeah.
And then what's now happening is that we've also got this for fire dampers, fire stopping, and cavity barriers as well. And again, with examples of that. So I think that's the sort of thing that I think we should be working towards.
Thanks,
I've got.
George.
So shall I jump on to?
Yeah, you had something about access strategies and fire strategies.
Yeah, so this feeds off that, and that is that the legal requirement for having a fire risk assessment each year is based on the premise that you should have an up-to-date fire strategy. And it seems that it's quite difficult to get hold of fire engineers at the moment because everybody's busy. And if you ask them for it, it can be very expensive. And often they'll not go down into the level of detail that probably really is needed because of liabilities and because they can't get the information. So the fire strategy, the production of the fire strategy, we thought was something worth looking at. And as we've drilled into it, we've realized that they can be a real challenge between the fire strategy, which is about getting people out of the building, and the access strategy, which is keeping people out of the building. So they are potentially conflicting issues. And certainly we're doing this under the BIM asset management banner, where they've got hospitals and healthcare facilities where they've maybe got the health trust and they've sublet part of it to a local authority, maybe social care. And they've put maglocks on doors. And they've found maglocks on fire escape doors. Or they've got maglocks on doors that are part of the fire exit. Now, that's obviously wrong. That's a mistake. But you can understand and see that it does happen. And so we're running a session on Monday where we've got some fire engineers and also we've got Assa Abloy coming along as well. And we're actually going to discuss this in terms of how can we have a coherent strategy that covers the various different things. We've got Paul White from Smoke and Vent, different Paul White, looking at smoke control as well. Vic.
Hi, George. I thought maglocks could actually be fitted to fire doors if they were part of the release system.
Yes, I think that's absolutely right. But you've got to make sure that the access mechanisms are set to be opened. That yeah. I think the point is that a lot of the things with fire strategies are dependent on people providing information about who's occupying which space and what they're using it for.
Definitely, yeah.
And I'd be interested to know from a social housing perspective whether there are circumstances where you've got potentially multiple tenants. I mean, obviously you've got normal multiple tenants, but it may be that you've got, I don't know, a fitness center or something like that, and that may impact on I mean, there's loads where there's retailers, isn't there? Mm. So the stores and are too many people occupying spaces and all these sorts of things. And if the landlord isn't getting the information about how space is being used, then that compromises the fire strategy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. We do have a multifunctional space. We have an extra care centre, and within it we have got like a hairdressers and some retail units that are being let. And we've also got a bistro in there and what have you. So yeah, it's quite important for the risk assessors. And we've got separate people to do the fire strategy to work together so that there's that crossover of information, and they come at it from slightly different points of view. And then our staff understand exactly how that building's used, how the essential firefighting equipment is used. And of course, we have got maglocks on and they'll release in the event of a fire. And we have those checked weekly with the fire alarm. So yeah, it's important that's all written down in the fire strategy, isn't it? So everybody knows how that happens.
As ever, with Ensure are leading the way. No, seriously.
That's good then.
No, you are. Yeah.
Yeah, George, we work very hard at keeping our tenures separate. So floor by floor or block by block, because you're right. There's quite often we can have a door that performs a security function, but then in a fire situation needs to perform a fire function. So as Victoria said, in normal day-to-day operation, the door is shut by a maglock performing its security function, but on fire it will release. And even, you know, we'll have a manual override as well. If the release mechanism fails, then there's a manual push button. But the problem we've then got is if you provide a manual push button facility, if people are determined to get through that door, it becomes insecure very quickly. So we try and avoid that scenario as best we can, you know, during the design phases.
Brilliant, thank you. Can we just open it up a little bit more? Connor, are you there at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's your experience been of this? Because I mean, you're a social landlord as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I work for Wheatley up in Scotland. I've not had much with it yet. We've been working on we've done quite extensive work on a sort of 2D digital twin stuff with our tenement, old style Glasgow tenement assets at the moment, building a picture of that. So we're really we've just sort of started our first phase of adopting the BIM principles and things like that. We're in the process of identifying, going out, completing surveys, gathering the data and information that we need, and identifying repairs, and putting in a sort of BIM-like process between the surveyors and our team. So Wheatley's quite fortunate that we work in. We've got a joint venture with a building company called City Building. So we've sort of implementing a BIM-like type process of sending them out to do repairs and then getting the information we need about those repairs back and building from there. Not so much on the Regulation 38 at the moment. What I've found that works quite well is, I think I've maybe said this in a couple of other workshops, is the introduction of a responsibility matrix, and what I like to call you get these clerk of works that go out on the site and make sure everybody's building the thing correctly. But I like to call it a clerk of information. It's making sure the information that's being delivered is what you asked for. If that could be an AI job, that would be absolutely fantastic. I don't know if we're at that stage yet.
Thank you, Connor. Malcolm, you're from Derby, are you?
That's right, George. Yes.
Yeah, I'm in Nottingham, so.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And talking about door control systems, George, I don't see a problem with being maglocks on doors. It's just making sure that the release mechanism works, and then that someone's checking those on a regular basis. You know, you're really down to the management functions of the building, because, as we know, 80% of fire safety is really about the fire safety management within that building and how it's operated. I've certainly risk assessed many buildings and had maglocks on not final exit doors, on story exit doors onto a stair core, and just told the responsible person to make sure that, like Victoria said, when an alarm a test is done, that it's released the electronic mechanism.
Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely no expert in this at all, and I wasn't suggesting there's anything wrong with maglocks.
No, yeah.
It was more about making sure that the access strategy and the fire strategy are coordinated and aligned.
That's right, and you're quite right. You get multi-use buildings as well, as you say, with different types of tenures there and different type of occupants. A good example I can cite is a car park, and then it has a leisure centre on the top story as well. So different people are accessing at different times and all times of day. And this is where you're reliant on the technologies, making sure that the cause and effect is as it should be.
Brilliant, thank you. Sarah, I don't know whether you've been with us before, but where are you from? Sarah Nash? No, she's not there at the moment. She's perhaps popped for a coffee. I've just noticed that Steve Wiper's on. I've not spoken to you for a while, Steve. Steve Wiper? Oh, he's gone. He was on a moment ago. Who else has not spoken yet? We like to have everybody contributing or saying something. Let me see, who else can I pick on? People are disappearing now.
yeah. Everyone's go, oh my God.
Talitha, where are you from? No, okay. That's the problem. Yeah.
George, what can we do?
I've got one. So if anybody wants to be involved in the workshop that we've got on Monday, it's at 11 o'clock in the morning, and just put fire strategy into the in the chat, and we'll send you an invite. The final one that we've also got next week, we've got a workshop next week on Thursday, is on AWAB's law. So the new damp and mold legislation. So we've got a number of people who are specialists in that area. So if you're interested in participating in that, that's at 11 o'clock on Thursday morning. It will be recorded, so you'll be able to watch it afterwards if you can't make it. But if you put damp and mold in the chat, we'll let you know about that. But damp and mold, it seems to be a huge challenge, I think, for social housing providers. And I think what the government's done is is vital, but I think there's a real danger of councils and housing associations being completely overwhelmed by the demand, and it could also lead to a situation where we've got I know already that there are law firms lining up to do class actions and things like that. I don't know whether that's the right term, but it could well be counterproductive. And the big challenge, I think, is that from my limited experience, a lot of it's down to the behaviour of the tenant as well. So one of the housing associations I was talking to earlier in the week on this was saying that he was involved in a project where they had a real challenging situation where they managed to remediate it, and then after they left, the tenant went into retrieved from the rubbish the clothes that had been mold infested and washed them and probably dried them again. So therefore they reintroduced all the spores again. Now, you can understand people perhaps doing that, particularly if they're financially challenged, which they may well be. But that's an education thing. That's not fair to turn that on the social landlord, in my view.
Yeah, it's a very difficult situation, George. In a previous life, I was head of an asset management function where I was routinely called to properties that were experiencing damp and mold, and it was a real fine line, between us being able to do something about it physically in terms of the dwelling, and tenants being educated to help themselves as much as anything else. It's a difficult it's a difficult topic, but as with all of these things, the more that we can learn and the more that we can share, the better, to be honest.
Yeah. I tell you what would be very helpful if people on the call. I'd like to get involved next week. Contractors who you would be going to do the work. So I mean, it may be that you don't have the contacts here, but I don't know if Malcolm or Vic or anybody would know which organisations. I mean, David, do you work with people like Mears and people like that?
As an organisation, we have in the past. I'm not on the assets.
I know you're not on that area, are you?
Yeah, not anymore. But yeah, certainly. I mean, we've got a massive programme of work starting, or should I say, ongoing around kind of damp and mould. And I'm sure that I can find out which contractors we're working with.
That'd be really helpful.
So I'll see if I can find something else for you.
Can anybody else help with that? You know, if you, I mean, is that something, Vic, you would know anybody that could do that?
I'll have a look, George.
Yeah.
I know that we've also done a big piece of work around damp and mould, and we've got a new policy, etc. And we're doing some proactive work as well with some damp and mould companies. So I'll find out who we've got on, and I'll let you know. That'd
be great. Connor, do you know anybody?
Yeah, I'll have a word with some of them, although my opinions may vary slightly from the guys that go and fix our damp and mould issues. Tenant behaviour. I mean, I used to work for a company, SureServe Asset Services, that shut down, and it was part of the reason that Wheatley hired me. We've surveyed hundreds of properties, and I think 5 was actually related to tenant behaviour. And then you look at sort of building regulations and stuff in Scotland, where it's like, oh no, it's because they're dry, they're closed inside. But it'll be the same in England. It's Scottish weather, it's English weather. So you can't dry or close outside if it's pouring down with rain. They've got at least in Scottish regulations, you have to provide an internal drying areas or capacity for the property to dry close internally. That's written in building regs. It might be for predominantly aimed at new builds, but it's still in the regs. That's just one thing. I'll be probably more vocal on the workshop next week. I'll keep some stuff to myself just now because we're running out of time. But I'll ask the guys that we work with if they can come on the call.
That'd be really, really helpful. Malcolm from Derby, do you think you could?
I'm not involved in that area at all now, George, to be quite honest with you. I'm focused on fire safety and fire safety management. Actually, like, similar to David, in a previous life, I actually used to work for a structural waterproofing organisation and used to do basement designs and stuff like that, and deal with condensation problems. But I'm not involved in that area now, so I wouldn't even know which contractors to approach.
No, sure. And you're with Derby City Council, are you? Or
yes, that's right. But I'm working predominantly on corporate assets now. I have done a lot of housing stuff in the past, but I'm on corporate stuff at this present time. So I'm not moving in those circles.
No, sure.
Sorry, can I just say something very quickly?
Oh, sure.
David, go like that. Your hair's sticking up about 5 inches from your head.
Well, it wasn't until you told me to do that.
No, it is.
Yeah, it sticks up because it's so far back.
You look like a Mohican.
Thank you for sharing. Listen, on that note, George, are you happy to draw this to a conclusion?
Sorry.
Why? Why are you
There's
sorry?
some very, very exciting news.
Oh yeah.
which is
allow
so
us to be the
exciting.
judge.
George has forgotten about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, George?
Yeah. So what we're looking to do is to have a challenge to people around AWAB's law to actually run a bit of a competition, an award for the best innovation around
with fabulous prizes.
Yeah. So just to think about this a minute, because we think there's going to be a lot of innovation needed to be able to address what the requirements are. And obviously everybody's at the moment putting together solutions and how they're going to approach things. And I think there's a lot we could learn from each other on this. So we're planning something at the moment where we'll announce it over the next week or so. We're probably going to launch it formally at London Build, but I think it's a good idea to get people to think outside the box, to come up with ways of doing things. Do you agree? So do we think that's a good idea? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good idea, George.
Well, that's unanimous, but from the people who are visible.
Who's sponsoring this event?
Well, we need to
various.
Yeah,
actually,
various.
There are quite a few people who are going to chip in some things as prizes. That's still in sorting it out, but no, it's serious, like nice prizes, proper.
Okay, yeah. I believe you, Richard. I've been working with you for years now, and you're a man of your word. It's fine.
Well, you know that.
Exactly.
And never flippant. Never flippant.
And how are your dogs? Are your dogs okay?
I've actually fed them.
Excellent. I'm pleased. Guys, listen, we're virtually bang on time. Lovely to see you all again, or see at least discs with your initials in them. That's been nice. And as always, hey Justin, as always, these sessions are kind of only as good as the conversation that we managed to generate, and it's then down to us to kind of pick these things up and run with them. As always, if there are topics that you would like us to put on the table at these sessions, please let us know. I guess everyone's going to have George's email address. I'll put my email address in the chat as well. So if there are topics that come up that you would value us talking about in these sessions, then please let us know, and it'll be all the more richer for that. There are a few actions coming out of today, but it sounds like we've got some follow-on sessions next week on various topics. So it'll be good to see as many of you there as possible. I've got nothing else to add, George, unless you've got any passing. Do you and Richard just want to hang on at the end? Just we'll have a quick 2 minutes before we disappear. Is that all right?
Yes, I have just thought of something. And this will take a moment to just say.
Okay.
I had a situation yesterday where somebody had done a survey of a building for a landlord, and we thought that we would therefore be able, the landlord thought they'd be able to access the information, floor plans. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it then transpired that the surveyor had done the work for a third party, and therefore the client didn't have access. Now, that doesn't mean that they were refused access, but it meant that they didn't easily have access. And what I think we should be encouraging, people like Wythenshawe and Notting Hill and everybody else to do, is when somebody's doing some work on your building, then I think you should have the rights to use the information that is about your building. And I just wondered whether people could think about that. We don't need to cover it now, but I think it's
this is serious stuff. I'm actually a bit of an expert on IP, and that's what it comes down to. And as soon as people have got your information, and they make it into something else, they transform it into a different format, then they own that format of that information. You don't.
Even though, David, you probably will have paid for it. So the likelihood is that the work that was done would have been done under a commission where you're paying for it. But I believe that you should have I'm not saying that you should take all the IP. Let's say, for example, Justin's an architect. If he's done work for you, then he naturally would own the IP for the work he's done. But you should have the rights to be able to use the information. And I think that's normal in contracts, isn't it, Justin, that the client is able to have access to the information.
But it needs to be in the contract because it's not implicit. It's got to be clear.
Yeah.
It's got to be explicit.
Yeah, that's often the case with CAD drawings, isn't it? If you go to somebody who's going to, like for fire strategies, for instance, and they give you a CAD drawing of it, I always stated right at the beginning that I want the CAD files. I don't just want the PDFs. I want the CAD files so that they can be altered afterwards. So it is something that they try to not do, so that you then have to pay again. But yeah, like you say, Richard, it's being explicit at the beginning, isn't it? Saying this is what I'm going to want.
It's really worth doing because it can, if it does come up and bite you, it can be heavy.
Definitely, and we have used them quite a bit since.
Yeah, so sorry for forcing you over the your.
No, that's the biggie though. It's a biggie, and a lot of people aren't thinking about it, and it should be. I don't know. It should be something that we put some focus onto in some point.
Brilliant. Good.
Justin.
Just really quickly. So I worked with an architect a few years back. They told this anecdote that they'd done a whole drawing package and everything for a multi-story building in another country. Sent the drawing package off, only for the next morning a letter to arrive to say the drawing package was not to the standard we said, and as such we won't be paying you a penny. And that director of the architecture company said to me, the BIM world scares me because with BIM, of course, and common data environments, all your IP is in a shared space. Just thought I'd add that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a difficult one.
Guys,
okay, so we're hanging out round with David.
If you would, just for a minute, but for the rest of you, lovely to see you. Take care, have good days. And
see you
again soon.
Bye.
Bye, folks.
Do you need me?
Yeah, Paul. Yeah, more than welcome. Where's Richard? Is Richard still? Oh, Richard's the nut.
That's not my note taker.
Can we knock it off?
I don't.
Just use that to knock it off.
On the back of what I've just heard, David, although we've had sort of facilitated workshops on building safety and things like this with the employer's agent, and I'm going to be asking, will either the contractor or even the employer's agent, that'll scare them, will they be happy to say that we are, as the accountable people, able to sign the declaration of conformity or compliance? Sorry.
What for the Regulation 38 information? Yeah. I mean,
is that placing it back on them? You know, do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. Guys, I just wanted to get a sense as to how, from your perspective, these sessions are going. It was hard work today. You know, and there's very few people that talk, and George, I know you were working hard to try and drag people in. I'm just wondering if
it wasn't too bad. I mean, there were one or two contributors, and there's some really good stuff come out of it. But yeah, there are a lot of people that sit there, and I felt as if I needed to say something. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Paul. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Right, my feeling is when I'm chairing a meeting, and this happens, is I just pick on people.
Yeah. Well,
I know that doesn't suit everybody's style because you're a lot more urbane than I am, and you're more kind of, and it's a different thing. But that's kind of what I do, and I do think when George started doing it, it did liven the meeting up.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, I do think it does that. I mean, it's doesn't always work, but each of the people when the ones that were there, George, they all had something to say.
Yeah, I think that's it, David. There was a number of people on the session today that were new.
Yeah.
And which is good. And therefore, people are nervous about being drawn in. But then when they get introduced, one of my problems today, because I think Jess is off this afternoon, isn't he?
Yeah.
One of the problems that I had today is that I didn't know who was on the meeting, so I've got just a couple
We've got the acceptance list. What Gis does, as soon as the meeting starts, he sends us an Excel. Well, I mean, it'll take him half an hour maybe. We get an Excel of who's on the meeting and who they are, what their job role is, and all that kind of information. So once we've got that, we can say, oh, these people are relevant, those people aren't.
It's a bit more targeted.
Now, in a meeting this size, you can do that. Obviously, when we've got 200-300 people in the forum, you can't do it.
No,
yeah.
Sure.
But here, and like 30 people, 32 people, we can do that. It wasn't done today because Gis is, it's a long story. He's working funny hours over the next few months. So he came on to start the recording and everything, but then he's not there now. But normally that's what happens, isn't it? We get depending on how many people in the meeting, and then we've got a list then of pick on them for this, pick on them for that, which obviously makes life a lot easier.
Okay.
You've still got a number of them in the chat who didn't say anything, who have contributed to fire strategy and
in the chat.
And they have put volunteered.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Didn't say anything. And I think, just my point about, I'm going to go away and double check, even though, I think that was kind of speaking on behalf of probably quite a few people that didn't say anything.
Yeah. And it's still quite a decent sized group. It's not that people aren't turning up.
I mean, you remember a couple of years ago, less than that, we were getting 6 or 7 people in the door.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's a whole other world now. A whole other world now.
Guys, as long as we're happy, I'm happy. Just want to
absolutely. Yeah,
take a couple of minutes to reflect.
We're doing another big push for you as well, David. Another recruitment thing, which we haven't done for over a year. For the HALAs, so that should bump you up again. It takes 2-3 months, but
okay. I'll make sure I've got my hair fixed by then, Richard. Thank you.
If you would, it would be nice.
Yeah. Cheers.
I was only thinking of you and your dignity.
Yeah. No, I respect your opinion as always. It's good to see you guys. You take care.
We have 50 people registered for today.
Yeah, 60.
Wow.
So that doesn't mean that they're not interested. Sometimes
sure.
We had 12 apologies. Sorry, can't make it. We always work on the basis that if they've accepted the meeting, and they're all going to get transcripts and all this, so they're all still there. And very often, because we do keep some statistics, very often those ones that didn't make it, a higher proportion of them will come next meeting.
Yeah, sure.
So it works out.
I'm happy.
Good. Which is all we're here for, David.
Yeah. Well, if you ever want me to come and walk your dogs, just ask.
See you later.
Be good. Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cheers.